Hi, everybody. Welcome to This One's Dedicated To. My name's Chris Barton.
And I'm Jennifer Ziegler. And we both write books for young people. And we love speaking with creators of books for young people, particularly about the dedications in the books.
That's what This One's Dedicated To is all about. Today, we are joined by our friend Crystal Allen to talk about the dedication in her book, The Loreline. Hello, Crystal. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
You're doing fantastic.
We are hanging in there.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much.
To kick us off, would you mind reading aloud the dedication in The Loreline?
Absolutely. It's to my mother, Thelma Ann Jones, and the multitude of strong women in my line. Because of you, I know I can do anything.
That is beautiful. I know a lot of authors have dedicated books to their parents as a way to say thank you and for other reasons. Can you speak a little bit about why you dedicated this book to you?
I can. I dedicated this book out of a regret, a shame, actually. Something that I needed to do to tell my mother I was sorry and that I heard her when I was younger, and I regret not doing something that she had asked me to do. I grew up on a farm, and she had a very small house that was built for her by her male cousins, and it was just one room. It was like a little shack room, a little shack house. And depending on what side of the house you were on was what room you were in. So on the right side, I think, was the living room. And on the left side, the kitchen was over there and kind of like that. And that was it. But I had never been inside. And I didn't even know it existed until I was like 11 years old. And when I found out that house existed, I asked my mom about it. And she said, you know what? Let's go in. Come on, I'm going to take you. And being raised on a farm, you have to know that things change on a farm. And at that point, the house was actually inside my grandmother's pig pen, way in the back part of the pig pen. I wasn't afraid of the pigs because, anytime you went into the pig pen, they'd scatter. I guess afraid to becoming bacon or whatever, but we would go inside the pig pen and they moved. And I saw that house and we went back there. And my mom, it was just a house sitting on those gray cinder blocks. Mm-hmm. There was no real foundation except for these cinder blocks. And so you could see right underneath the house, everything. So my mom walked up up these 3 steps, tried to open the door, couldn't get the door open. And so I'm standing there and I'm waiting and I'm thinking, wow, man, I've never been back here. And I'm looking around and there's a doll, a naked doll with no head on the ground. And on the other side, there was a shoe, a little boy's shoe with no shoelaces. And I thought, man, my brothers and sisters played really hard back here when they were little. That's what I was thinking because I wasn't raised in this house, right. But my older brothers and sisters were. So I'm looking around and everything, and I look to the left, and there's a graveyard over there. And I'm not talking about the nice, neat, dead in a row headstones. I'm talking about there were some rocks and some pieces of wood that were shaped like crosses, and there was writing on them. And my 11-year-old brain, because my mom still couldn't get this door open. And so I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, those ghosts from that graveyard ate the head on my sister's doll, and they scared my brother so badly that he ran out of his shoelaces on his shoe, and they are now in that house. And my mom cannot get the door open because they're holding it closed. And so that's how, my creativity has been there for a long time. But that was truth to me when I was 11, and it scared me so badly that I ran. And my mom's like, wait, I've almost got it open. And I'm like, it's okay. I don't want to know. I don't want to go in there. And I ran out of the pig pen, and I never went back. Jennifer, I never went back.
Mm.
And my mom asked me again, she goes, I really want you to see what's in there. And I didn't go, and I became a woman. I moved out of Indiana because that's where this place was. And I moved to Texas, and my aunt called me and she said, Chris, your grandmother's gotten too old to take care of the farm. She sold it to the city, and they've come through with a construction company. They're going to make that land into a feeder onto the freeway. And so we started talking about everything. And then all of a sudden that little house came in my mind. I'm like, well, what about my mom's house? And she said, that was one of the first things they mowed down. And I felt so bad about that was part of my history that my mom wanted me to see. And, as I got older and I started thinking about my reasons for not going in, how stupid they were, how absolutely ridiculous they were. 11 years old, maybe, but now I'm a grown woman and I didn't go back. And I know that that's what my history was in that home. So I had started writing, and I thought if I ever get the opportunity to create a story, I'm going to pay homage to that house. I'm going to pay homage to my mom. I'm going to pay homage to all of the women that have probably been in and out of that little house. And I tried to put as much in it as I possibly could about the women in my line, the women that probably left a legacy for me that I didn't get to know about. And all they were trying to tell me was, you can do anything. You can do anything that you want to do. And so that's why I wrote this dedication the way I did. My mom got dementia, and she got it the year that this book came out. And so I gave it to her, and I showed her that I dedicated it to her. It took her about 9 months to read this book because she kept starting over and over again, believing she hadn't started it. But she finally finished it, and she loved it. And she thanked me for writing it. And 90 days after she finished this book, I lost her. So this book was incredibly important to me, and the dedication and to be able to get done with it and that she give me her blessing on it was everything. So that's why I dedicated this book, and that's why it means so much to me. Mm. My brothers and sisters, when they saw the cover, they would start telling me stories, and I found out that my sister that had the doll that had the head missing, all of her dolls were headless. And that was because she was a tattletale. And my oldest brother told me the reason that she didn't have any heads on her dolls was every time she tattled on me or she tattled on my uncle, and my brother were around the same age, they would pop one of the heads off of her dolls and they would throw it somewhere where she couldn't reach it. So she had to walk around with these headless dolls all the time. But I didn't know that story until I wrote this book. And they told me about that Luana, she deserved every last headless doll she had because she was a tattletale. And that was the only way we could get her to shut up. We'll pop a head on one of your dolls. So I learned about some of my history, my family's history from that.
Did she ever stop tattling?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I know when we got older, she was still one of those that would try to put it in a story form, but she was still tattling. It was just a more educated way of doing it, hidden.
In 3 acts.
Yeah, I guess to answer your question, no, Chris, she didn't stop tattling. She still did it.